Of all the Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaigns I've tried so far, some have definitely been easier than others. So here's the 5 campaigns I've found the easiest, but do bear in mind there are like 86 campaigns and I've tried maybe like 25, 30 of them, so there's still a lot I haven't played. This is just from the ones I've played so far. Do remember this is just a video based on pure subjective experience. Maybe your experience might be different with the campaign. I play on very hard difficulties as well. And because this is pre-release, there's every chance that something you see here will change before release. And this video is brought to you by Atlas VPN. Now, what the hell is a VPN and why should you use one? Well, when you're out there surfing the internet, doing your searches, grabbing your content, whatever, there are those that would like to get their beady little eyes on it before it reaches you. But Atlas VPN can help you say no to all that, protecting you from being tracked or maybe even having your details or logins stolen. It also won't slow down your connection at all and may even improve it in some ways, allowing you super fast streaming and gaming. With one subscription of Atlas as well, you get to use it on unlimited devices, whether that's laptop phones or desktop PCs. There's also the breach scanner feature, which is really handy. You simply enter an email address and it'll tell you if the details have been leaked anywhere. Using the app itself is super simple, one click and you are protected. Although maybe you suddenly need to be in Japan, well, you can do that in a matter of seconds as well and pretend that you're in Japan for whatever reason. So how much does this lovely protection cost? Well, at the moment there's a deal for 3 years with 3 months free, a mere $1.83 a month, which is about £1.30 or 160 euros, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy. Link in the description, check out Atlas VPN. Skaven Nutjob Ikit Claw has one of the easiest campaigns I've found. You start off, as Ikit always does, in Skaven Blight, and you've got a pretty nice little army to start with. You've got some strong ranged units, you've got a Jezzail's unit, you've got 2 units of Rattling Gunners, some Doomflayers as well, so not a bad starting army. Where this campaign is pretty easy though is relating to the victory conditions and your surrounding enemies. So as always we have Tilia to the east and Estalia to the west, the Italians and the Spanish. And then we've also got Pirate Lady Aranessa down to the south with a little lighthouse. So one powerful legendary lord nearby. There's also Morgor the Shadowgave over in the Estalia area. He's going to be knocking around somewhere here. And it's these two who are the keys to easy victory. A mere 10 turns on and Aranessa has wiped out Tilia for me. That's saving me a job. And oh look, Estalia have been wiped out by Morgor as well. And to the north of me there's Carcassonne, who I've taken their capital of as well, so they're weakened down. And the beauty of all this is that my victory conditions is to destroy these 3 factions, Estalia, Tilia and Carcassonne. Well, Aranessa did Tilia for me, Morgor did Estalia for me, that just leaves me Carcassonne to sort out. Although there were still a few little bits left around, here's the final man of Estalia trying his best to take one final settlement with pretty much no health. What a brave lad. Down he goes. And with that, I've pretty much got half of my victory conditions done by turn 13. All I need to do now is upgrade the workshop, which is easy enough. That'll come from just playing the game, and raise and occupy, sack, whatever, 30 settlements, and then I'm done. Campaign victory. So a nice bit of freedom of campaign in this one, if it stays the same. It seems like maybe those victory conditions should be a little bit harder. Maybe you should have to take out Aranessa and Morgor instead. But currently it doesn't really seem like you even really need to leave Skaven Blight, except for maybe taking out Carcassonne. Next, it's Ginger Me, a man who's had a pretty horrible campaign for a long time. Finally, he's getting a much better one. Norskan Hardman Wolfric starts in, would you believe it, Norska, as he always does. He's got a pretty nice starting army with some Marauder Champions, some Marauder Berserkers, a Mammoth. It's a pretty solid starting army. Now there's 2 big reasons the Norska campaign is pretty easy. One is the same as it's always been, Confederation. Much like the Greenskins, when you beat up the leader of an enemy tribe, you get offered Confederation with them, and that makes it very easy to take territory, gain armies, whatever. And with Norska having actual settlements now, this is even more beneficial. You're not just gaining a bunch of outposts or anything, you've got some serious money-making potential. Now with that Confederation power, you can end up with a nice big kingdom like this in 30 to 40 turns. All I've got left to do around here is take one last little Norskan tribe. I've just taken Azazel's capital. All is well. Did you also notice my income of 6 grand by turn 40? How did the Norskans become such money moguls? Well, it's all to do with the ports. You see, Norska has a lot of port settlements, and in Warhammer 2, a port settlement upgraded to tier 3 would give you about 100 income. Well, in Immortal Empires, they give you 800 income. Level 1 gives you 200, level 3 gives you 400, level 3 a big old 800 income. And how many of these port settlements do we have? Well, you can see I've got 3 here in this province, so that's like 2,400 right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think, 8, maybe 9. That one looks a little more inland. I think that one is. Yeah, so Altar of Spawns isn't a port, but Winter Pyre is. Either way, I've got 2 provinces here with ports in. So overall, I've got like 10 ports, each giving me 800 income. You do the math. Of course, I don't actually have all these upgraded to tier 3 yet, but I'm most of the way there. I've got a lot of money, not to mention all the money-making income buildings I can make. These ones with a little heart-shaped thing in it almost. They give 300 maxed out, so there's just a whole ton of money to be made just from your Norskan economy, something the Norskans aren't really used to. This massive amount of money, of course, makes it pretty easy to get loads of armies and to just thrash everybody. Once you've entirely taken Norska, you can then just go out and raid and sack everybody to get that level 2 to finish the campaign if you wish. Pretty strong stuff for Norska. Another one of the big boys that had a pretty bad campaign in Immortal Empires in Warhammer 2 now has a pretty chilled out and easy campaign in Warhammer 3, and he's gone to Asia. You get a pretty decent starting army full of lots of Groxagors, of course, some Saurus as well, and a nice big Stegodon. Ooh, Stegodon! I think my balls just dropped. Now, while this campaign is an easier one overall, the starting battle is actually a little bit harder because it is a minor settlement battle against an army with a fair amount of missiles, so it can be a little bit tougher, might be easier to auto-resolve, or better to auto-resolve rather. And once you've got these initial Norskans out the way, you've got Cathay to deal with for the most part, and they're generally a bit of an easier, squishier faction to deal with, especially for someone tougher like the Lizardmen. And what also makes this campaign quite easy is that, much like Warhammer 2, when you take a settlement, you can give it to the defenders of the Great Plan. They get a big old garrison instantly, a full health garrison as well, so even if you've just beaten the crap out of it and taken it, you'll get a full health garrison in there, which helps them to easily defend. Moving on to around turn 40 here, I've got lots of money, a fair bit of income. My horde is nearly upgraded to level 5. I've got a bunch of buildings, a strong army. I feel like I'm nearly at endgame. I just need a few more buildings with some better units and I'm solid. And of course, the beauty of all of this is that I don't have to manage my kingdom at all. I've taken a fair bit of territory. I have been messed around a little bit, so I probably could have got a lot more territory. I had to come back here when I'd gone all the way north because the little tree men there came down to get me, so I had to come bop the tree men on the head, and then the Cathayans took a spot, so I had to go up and get them again. So you could definitely get further than I have here by turn 40, I reckon. And then there's no kingdom management. It'll be done by the vassal faction, so pretty easy. The victory conditions is just to bonk a few factions on the head around you, some of the ones up north, but none of them greatly dangerous factions. Only Locke here might be the biggest challenge from Dark Elves, but otherwise a fairly easy campaign, not really much kingdom management to worry about. Nice big strong Lizardmen army. Simple. Next, it's the best himself, Grimgor Ironhide with his new start position. He's got it pretty easy hanging out in the Darklands. So he starts over here in Saber Mountain and you move on to fight a Greenskins faction straight away. They've got a couple of settlements as well, and much like Norska, Confederation is a real beauty for the Greenskins. When you beat the leader down of another faction, you get all their stuff. The biggest reason though I think this campaign feels pretty easy, we've got Grimgor here, pretty much starting all by himself. There's no other legendary lords around other than Kolek just to the northeast. There's nobody really threatening from the south down below. There's nobody threatening up north particularly. And these kind of factions that fill these areas aren't very expansive or aggressive, so generally they'll stay pushed back. You might have Greasus down in the mountains of Morn there. But heading on to turn 6, and we've got a little bit of a kingdom going already. We've got a province and a little bit just from taking out that other Greenskins lord and taking his stuff. Now the only problem to deal with is old Kolek just to the north. He runs with an army that isn't terribly tough. It's got a lot of doggos in it, at least in my game it did. Got some strong units though, Summoners of Rage, some Dragon Ogres, Trolls. Otherwise, a pretty dealable with army though, nothing too crazy. Another big help I've had here is the old Greenskins War mechanic, which of course gives me a second massive army essentially, so pretty much no hope for Kolek. You're most likely going to be using that first war you get to take him out, and once he's done, it's pretty much plain sailing. You can go whichever direction you like and take on whichever part of the map you wish. By turn 50 here, I've got a pretty sizable kingdom. I've taken all the area around where I started. I've taken all of Kolek's stuff and his little vassal faction that was around. My army's getting stronger and stronger with all the buildings and stuff that I can upgrade. It's pretty easy to get a nice strong army very quickly. And then I've just headed over to Cathay now, and I'm just going after settlements, having some fun, and bonking dragons on the head along the way. So a fun campaign, but a pretty easy one, at least for now. I wonder if anyone else occupies the Darklands in the future, things might become a little bit tougher for old Grimgor. And lastly, a corpsey man who's been the laughingstock of the vampire counts for a long time. Well, his day has finally come as he brings all his corpses to the party, and boy is he not messing around with them. It is of course Hellman Gorst. Now with his very own faction and new start position, not to mention his pretty beefy starting army with his regeneration. He's got a White King, some Crypt Ghouls, some Crypt Horrors, a Mortis Engine, and an Unholy Lodestone Corpse Cart. He's got a hell of a lot of healing in that army, first of all. And zombies are no joke with Hellman Gorst. He gets some pretty big buffs for zombies alone. They can become really quite tanky, capable of actually putting out some serious damage, all through the buffing up of Hellman Gorst's abilities and tech trees and just everything that he can do. He loves his zombie boys and he makes sure they're well cared for. And on top of being able to turn zombies into powerhouses, we have to remember that zombies are very, very cheap. Not to mention that he can make them cheaper, so you can have a big old army of zombies, make them super powerful. You've got all the healing of the vampire counts, you've got an Unholy Lodestone Corpse Cart to keep him going, you got Hellman himself to keep him going, you got the Mortis Engine for some extra damage. His army is just pretty damn tough to stop. Especially for these low leadership factions like the Skaven that will really have no hope of outlasting them and will simply be scared away pretty quick. And into turn 20 here, I'm pretty much halfway done with this campaign. All I've got to do is take out old Kugath here and the Poxmakers of Nurgle, which may not be the easiest task in the world, but not the toughest either. We should be able to outgrind them with the crazy zombies and crazy regeneration. Then we just got to come and take Nagashizar, which is a settlement controlled by a little random Skaven faction, which as I said, are pretty easy to deal with the spooky vampires. So Hellman Gorst definitely got a nice campaign now, got a nice army, got some nice buff to zombies. Pretty cool, but very easy campaign. Although from what I understand in this build that I had, there was a bug that allowed too much healing for zombies, so I think I've got to play it where they've had more healing than they should have done. Maybe for final release it'll be a little bit more toned down, so perhaps it won't be so easy. But there we go. 5 campaigns I found the easiest in Immortal Empires so far. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Do check out Atlas VPN if you are interested in such a thing. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I said that again. See you in the future.